The pit stop is vital to every race team's success. Pull off the track, let your team go to work. Change all 4 tires, fill the fuel cell, and make needed adjustments, all in 8 seconds or less.
Did you know that there was another beautiful Indianapolis-style track once in Ontario, California, that was the home to some fantastic 500-mile races? In fact, IndyCar used to have a Triple Crown, and the Triple Crown was three 500-mile races within their schedule. And, of course, now we're down to one with the Indianapolis 500. Hey, welcome to the Pits Are Open, presented by Speed Sport, your one-stop shop for all racing news. Redline Ace, your one-stop shop for all racing graphics, cars, suits, hero cards, haulers, you name it. They do it all. I'm your host, Will Moradi. Alex Smith, our crack engineer and producer with us. Hello, Alex.
How's it going?
I see it was a very boring Canadian Grand Prix.
All the way until like lap. It was probably lap like 58, 59, and Norris clipped the back of Piastri's car and safety car. We finished under safety car.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, and then
teammates.
Yeah, very reminiscent of 2011. Very reminiscent. And then George Russell actually won, believe it or not, Mercedes, and Red Bull tried to contest it because he was driving erratically. Anything they can do.
Honestly, and I'm sure Max was the one that leveled that charge,
definitely.
right?
The second he won. Russell's braking erratically under safety car.
But McLaren's still ahead in the driver standings, right? And way ahead in the manufacturer standings.
By far, yeah.
Well, we had a fabulous, for those of you IndyCar fans, and I know there's most of you watching, we had a fabulous race in Gateway, just outside St. Louis, Madison, Illinois, with the Barbarito 500. I mean, it was fantastic. And the TV coverage, boy, Fox is doing a great job. We had over 1 million people watching the race Sunday night. The Fox moved it to prime time, came on at around 8 o'clock, 8:30. And, boy, I'll tell you, it was something else. The year before, the race had 528,000 TV viewers, so we almost doubled the viewership in a year. Fox is doing an incredible job with the NTT IndyCar Series. That's 3 races now. Indy, Detroit, and Gateway, over 1 million viewers. And I think that's, for the modern era anyway, I think that's a record for TV attendance. So could not be happier with the job Fox is doing. Hats off to Penske Entertainment for picking Fox. I know a lot of people were, myself included, a lot of people were skeptical. We got used to NBC and Peacock, and there were some really horrible years there when they didn't have network coverage, and it was just abysmal. But this, boy, I tell you, Fox is doing a great job, and we couldn't be happier about it. And it was a pretty good race. I mean, really thinking about it. I mean, there was a lot of action. There was some good passing. Hats off to Christian Rasmussen, who we've had on this program before. Did a great job. Got a penalty, went back. They sent him back to the back of the field. He drove up through the field. I mean, just really, really good. But the weirdest thing was Fox was running like a Joseph Newgarden promo piece, which was kind of dorky to begin with. And then the next thing you know, we look up, and there's Newgarden upside down with sparks coming off the car. Louis Foster got loose, hit the wall, spun back into the traffic, and Newgarden just car launched. I mean, just took off, came down on the safety retaining wall, and skid probably 500 or 600 feet on the roll bar. They flipped it. Joseph was fine, which is wonderful. That was crazy. It was crazy. But it was a good race. And, of course, only 2 drivers now have won all the races this year. Alex Palou has won, 5 races? And now Kyle Kirkwood has won 2 races. Kirkwood had a good drive. Santino had a great drive. I think 5th place for Santino. David Malukas led the most laps, which was an incredible thing. So just really, really good racing, and Pato didn't win, so I'm happy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I hate to bring that in, but I'm just not a Pato fan. I know he's the most popular driver in IndyCar, but he's not my most popular driver. My favorite driver. Anyway, hey, we got a good show for you today. Kind of a nostalgic show. Nostalgic, and as I said in the opening, we had a beautiful track for years, a number of years, in Ontario, California. It was a 2.5 mile track, and it was kind of the Indianapolis of the West Coast. And great racing there. First 200-mile-an-hour lap, we're going to hear later about that, turn at Ontario, and it was, and then it wasn't. And they tore it down, and I don't know what they built. But anyway, we've got a great guest. Mike Allen's going to be joining us. He has a long and distinguished military career in the Air Force, almost 40 years, United States Air Force and Air Force Reserve. And he's a racer, loves racing, loved it since he was a kid, went to Ontario when he was a kid. And he's taken on the challenge of this huge research project that will become a book on Ontario, the track. And, I mean, he's done – I mean, the interviews that he's done, the list of people that he's spoken to is impressive. And we're going to get all into that, the genesis of why he wrote it, what has he discovered. I mean, he has got to be now one of the leading experts in the world on the Ontario Motor Speedway. And then we were going to have someone on who has driven – and raced at Ontario, also 12 Indy 500s, and that's Johnny Parsons Jr., call him JP, Johnny Parsons Jr., but they're having some real weather difficulties in Indiana, and he's having some technical difficulties. He was going to go to another place to shoot for us and wasn't able to leave. So anyway, we're going to have on Mike Lashman. Mike's with the director of Vintage Indy, president of Vintage Indy. Mike actually was on a winning pit crew at Ontario, I think in 1973. So Mike's very familiar with Ontario. He's going to come in around 4:30 from the Vintage Indy shop in Indianapolis, and we'll get some point of reference from Mike. But we're so grateful to have our first guest today, Michael Allen. Again, incredible service to this country, United States Air Force Reserve, almost 40 years. And now doing this amazing. I mean, this is an amazing research on the Ontario Motor Speedway. So if Mike is ready, let's welcome him to the program. Hey, Mike, how are you?
How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me on board. I
got to tell you, the more I'm reading about this and reading what you've done, I mean, this has got to be a labor of love. You've got to have thousands of hours into this research on Ontario. I mean, is that overstating or no?
Pretty close to it. I as you mentioned on the run up, I retired from the Air Force in 2016, and racing's always been a passion for me. And I continued on with the Department of Defense. I'm the manager for the flight simulators at March. So some of the simulators I used to fly, I managed the facility for 17 and 135. Anyways, great tour. I get to see some of my old flyers I used to work with. So it's there. But back to the concept of how this all developed. I grew up in Covina. When I was about 9 or 10 years old. I remember going on family trips out to the east side of Riverside in Ontario and seeing this giant dirt berm being developed and the off of the 10 freeway. And then a couple of years later, was able to go to that magical place called Ontario Motor Speedway.
Wow.
Loved it. Absolutely. I'm still, to this day, the moments that I spent at that track, both at a race and just by myself, and that's another side story, but it was the Valhalla of motorsport.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was a kid when Ontario was really in its heyday, and young teenager, and boy, I'll tell you what, everybody wanted everyone wanted to go out there. Everyone wanted to see Ontario. It was exciting when we had the Triple Crown. It was so exciting to be able to have the 3 500-milers on the schedule. Let me just take a pause here, because I don't want to brush over the military thing. I mean, you spent decades serving your country. What attracted you first to the Air Force? How did that all happen? Tell us about that.
Kind of a collision with Ontario and the Air Force. I grew up admiring the engineering of motorsport. Some of my heroes were Dan Gurney, Mark Donohue, Bruce McLaren, Colin Chapman. I mean, I knew the race car designers almost and the crew chiefs on the Indy cars as much as I did the drivers.
Wow.
And at one time, I used to draw cars in my, high school years, and I'd man them, and I'd go out to Ontario and go on the qualifying day or practice day and wait at the front gate or right at the garage gate. Mm-hmm. And I would kind of gate crash, I guess, to get in there to get them autographed. And I did a couple of drawings for Dan Gurney, and he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going to graduate from high school." This was 1977. And I'd love to come down and be your designer someday. And so I didn't have any college money or a scholarship going. So I went into the Air Force as an aircraft mechanic, and actually I signed up for every base in Europe because I wanted to just spend my 30 days in the military back there touring all the races. But I didn't get the engineering degree, but I did get an aviation maintenance degree. Mm-hmm. And then I served as an aircraft mechanic in Texas, various parts around the country, and then ended up in California. And a side note to this, I'm flying into Ontario in the late, I'd say late 70s, early 80s. I think it was 81 to be exact. Okay. And I look over on the right-hand side of the airplane approaching Ontario. I noticed that the track's being kind of modified. So I asked the gate guard at the airport. I said, "What's going on at the Speedway? Are they modifying?" He said, "No, it's sold. It's gone." And it was heartbreaking for me.
I bet. Oh, no.
So back to Dan Gurney. I wanted to be a designer. I got involved in some various motorsports just as a part-time. While I was assigned to both Norton and March Air Force Base out here in California. And met my wife, been married for 42 years next month.
Good for you. That's awesome.
And she's always backed me up on my projects. Always had the bags ready for me to go on my trips. So can't complain. Anyways, never got to be the race car designer I wanted, but racing and history were my passion. And I would drive past that empty lot, which was the Speedway that was being developed into hotels and shopping malls and car lots. And I just say, damn, why didn't it just hang on just a couple of more years? Because it would have survived. I mean, quite frankly, just in the interviews I've had, a lot of well-known people in the motorsports business said that if Ontario had been able to hurdle that early 1980s era and go into with the advent of ESPN, TNN, motorsports was burgeoning and really getting larger and louder, both in the media and for the fans. And I think that Ontario would have been there. Something about Ontario in per se is that it was not a deteriorated track when it was bulldozed.
Well, it wasn't that old. I mean, it wasn't even that old. I mean, you got Indy's been around for 100 years. I mean, it's one thing I wanted to ask you too. I mean, Ontario was they considered it, kind of Indianapolis of the West Coast, but it had its own charm and it had its own characteristics apart from Indianapolis. Isn't that true?
Oh yeah, definitely. The width of the racetrack itself, like on the front straightaway, was almost the width of both the Indianapolis front straight and the pit lane. So can you imagine
Wow.
You could do almost 6 car abreast down
Sure.
Indianapolis. I mean, out Ontario, if possible. And you mentioned about the cross reference with Indianapolis. Dave Lockton, the original president of the Speedway, mentioned that there wouldn't be any Ontario without Indianapolis. And right from the beginning, Tony Holman was a full-throated supporter of the track. In fact, he gave the command to start engines, I think 3 or 4 times at the track for the 500 races. So he was very adamant about the success of the track. And something else that's unique about Southern California, I mentioned about Dan Gurney and some of Parnelli Jones and a lot of the Southern California folks. The track didn't just plop down in this vineyard on the east side of LA without a reason. And you know, Southern California, going back, and I address this in the book, going back to 1900s, that there was a cottage industry, for, as you say, of motorsport support plus valuable racetracks around here. I mean, everything from, you know, airport racetracks for sports cars and drag racing.
Sure.
They would race at Santa Ana, March Air Reserve, March Base, Palm Springs. So the motorsports genre was really hard and heavy in Southern California.
Absolutely.
Plus, you also had the second largest media market in Hollywood, right next door. So with Ontario, Hollywood was front and center. It was right at their doorstep. So the first inaugural race it was in September of 1970, and on August 9th of that year, they had the inaugural grand opening, which was to showcase all the movie stars and the different types of genres that they were going to race at the track.
Sure.
And unique to Ontario, it was the very first pro-am race. So you had amateur celebrities paired up with superstars at the time. You know, you had Roger Ward, Al Unser, Bobby Unser, and Dan Gurney, Parnelli Jones. They were all paired up with like Hugh Downs, Dick Smothers, you know, a variety of different, Pete Conrad, the astronaut, were all, and Paul Newman, of course. So they were, this was their playground, and it had some hellacious promise going into the 70s. The problem with Ontario is that it cost $25 million to be built, and it wasn't one person coming out and saying, hey, I'm going to build this track. There were bonds that were built, and without going into too much minutia about that, and I've had to wear several different hats writing this, both government, financial, as well as my motorsports hat and management, just to make sure I get the story right. Anyways, there were investors, and that's how they came about to fund the track, and they were in competition. You had Riverside just within 30 minutes from the track, and you know, they were how do you say, if you had the fancy restaurant on one end of the block, and then you had the corner bar where everybody could be relaxed, you know, Riverside was that go-to place, and it wasn't any animosity between the two tracks. They tried to work schedules out, and there were some conflicts based on scheduling issues that came up. But with regard to how this transitioned, there were a series of managers that processed through managing the track. Dave Lockton was the first manager and president. He left in the early 1971, and then it lay dormant for a while. And then John Cooper, who later managed Daytona and was part of the Indianapolis Speedway, took over for a short time and ran it for about a year plus. Then it was Padlock, November 72. And then it was also used, even though it was Padlock, Firestone and Goodyear have been allocated time to use the track as a testing site, but they could not have any fans track. So a savior somewhat came along in April '73, and that was Parnelli Jones and Company. And ironically, Tony Hallman was the chairman of the board on board with the track, and they stayed.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
They stayed on board for about 2 years till '75, and then Parnelli departed the position, and then it was just basically a managed year by year, month by month issue until its demise in November or December of December of '80.
One of the things I'm so impressed with your research, we're talking with Mike Allen. The number of people that you interviewed for this is stunning, and the list is stunning. I mean, I'm looking at the list right now, and Dave Lockton, Mario Andretti, Bobby Unser, David Hobbs, Robin Miller, TV Tommy Ivo, George Fulmer, Judy Strophes. I just talked to Judy Strophes like maybe 3 weeks ago. So funny. Dick Smothers, Johnny Rutherford. I mean, it's a who's who of not only racing but Hollywood. Who was the first person, if you recall? Who was the first person that you interviewed for the book?
Actually, it was Bobby Unser.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And the way I did all my interviews is that it isn't a cold call. Mm-hmm. I would send out, here I am, I'm presenting this project, and I'd give them the book outline, what I was trying to do, and then I would send in to their PR person, or maybe sometimes I just find a direct line through Facebook or something else, some other contact, and I would give them a complete outline of their finishing order at Ontario, so they had something to go off of. Mm-hmm. It's funny about you mentioned Bobby was on the phone with me for about 3 hours, and it was, I mean, it was I'm still a race fan.
Sure.
And it was a treasure and a treat just to sit and listen and take the notes as fast as I could. And he was just wonderful. And he talked about not only Ontario, but other races nearby.
Yeah.
And it was just a treasure to do that. Mario was my next interview.
Oh, man.
And then Dave Lockton was there for me as well. Just a wonderful interview.
How about Robin Miller? I'm a big Robin Miller fan. Robin was super good to us, and certainly back in 16, 17, 18. How about Robin?
Robin Miller, I was on the phone for, I think, 3 times, and they exceeded an hour. Yeah. And then we did, when later in the years, we just texted, and and I kept him abreast on how we were doing. And he says, just don't take any no for an answer, and keep pressing, kid. And that was great incentive for me.
Oh, wonderful. So
go ahead.
Where are you in terms of, I mean, you've done you spent so many thousands of hours, so many interviews. You know, I mean, if you get any book and there's 5 or 6 interviews in it, it's something. And you've got dozens here, and all incredibly top shelf. You know, Dave Marcus. I remember that name well as a young man in stock cars and USAC and NASCAR. Just so many people here. Tom Sneva, the first man to turn a 200-mile-an-hour lap at Indianapolis. Yeah. Where are you now in terms of process with this, Mike?
So, if you were to see my law office, for lack of a better term, I have over 5,000 documents, real-time documents that I've been able to acquire through people who have taken pity on me, for lack of a better term, and said, here, my dad worked at the track.
Yeah.
Use this. And it could be just a notepad of stuff that he did on a daily basis at the track. Anything to add a little detail to the book. So, as I said, that documentation is in place in it. And one thing about the military taught me was documentation is your goal.
Everything, yes.
Everything. And you know, whether it was a flight log or a maintenance log. Back to putting the book out. Right now, this month, I have the book being reviewed by a professional author and reviewing staff.
Okay.
The rationale for that is this is my first book.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And I've never written a book. I've never written a magazine. This is my first option to do this. And I want to make sure that when I go into to project this book upon a publisher, that at least I have a decent chance of presenting it right.
Oh,
so I've got a great staff that have been helping me review it. And what we're looking at is in the next couple of months to have it finished up. And I told my wife, she's been an angel to stand by me on this project. 40-hour work weeks, and then working at night on this thing and on the weekends she's been a real trooper and a great supporter for me.
Sure.
I'm shooting to have the book in a publisher's hands, and I've got 3 publishers standing by that have expressed some interest in it, but they haven't seen the total product yet, and that's the rationale for doing it right the first time.
Well, I can't wait.
The biggest challenge is photographs.
Yeah.
I've got over 3,000 photographs that have been allocated to be used in the book. And, when you do, and by the way, this book is going to be a large coffee table size book because I wanted it to really jump out to the reader to see it. And so that's the rationale that's the how the book is going to be laid out. So it's not going to be a small one.
How many pages do you think, Mike, about?
Right now, I have on my computer, I've got over 525 pages of documentation, double spaced. But I figured I would give the publisher a little cutting room floor data to so it didn't seem like it was cut out too much.
I when we were kids, my neighbor who has passed since then, but Chris and I, we made these little cutout cars, and I still have some of them. We out of cardstock, little tiny cars. They were probably 3/4 of an inch long by less than a half an inch wide, and we would detail them and color them the livery schemes of the cars, and we actually would mirror the Indy car. So we had an Indianapolis track, but we had an Ontario track, and it was so much fun as kids. Literally, we even did Sebring. We'd stay up all night and do a 24-hour race. Yeah. We were so obsessed with it, and there's got to be a lot of folks like you and I both, similar age. We love racing. I mean, I think this thing, people are going to go after this. I can't wait. I can't wait to get it and read it, and it's going to be so much fun. And I think you're going to be surprised about the demand for this book. This is going to be greatly demand book.
Well, I will tell you that I haven't written this book in a bubble. And first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on board, and also extend a further thanks to Mike Lashmet, who's been on my wingtip since for a couple of years now, and I owe him a copy of this book because he's never failed to help support in getting the word out and connect me with so many wonderful people. In fact, Johnny Parsons was, I think, one of my 5th interviews. And so, I've told Mike, I said, tell Johnny I'm not giving up on the book. It's going to happen.
Well, we were supposed to have Johnny on today, but he had some weather issues where he lives and so Mike Lashmet's coming back on.
Oh, good.
But we're going to reschedule Johnny because I want to have Johnny on. We're going to reschedule Johnny, and he mentioned talking to you before I even mentioned. He mentioned that you had interviewed him. So, I mean, it's just it's an amazing work that you've done. I can't. I do quite a bit of research myself as a pastor, and I've been a pastor for over 30 years, but I've never done anything to hold a candle to this, what you've done with Ontario. So I am so impressed. I understand how long it takes to do research and dig through and find facts and find documents, and this is impressive. It really is.
I wanted to let you know that, I ran into, I mentioned earlier about Dan Gurney. I ran into him a couple of years later with my son, who I named Dan as well. And,
wow.
And we ran into each other at Long Beach, and he goes, I remember you, but I can't place where. I said, I was a guy drawing those cars at Ontario. You're the one. And I said, well, I ended up in the Air Force. He said, she did okay.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
But I just wanted to, I know your time is important, and I would be remiss if I didn't extend a sincere thanks to you, Mike Lashmet, and a gentleman, I don't know if you know him, but his name is Doug Stokes. And Doug has been on my wingtip since the day I put the first letter on the file, and has been a mentor and a guidepost for me since this. And he worked for the IKF. He worked at Paris Auto Speedway and Irwindale Speedway. So he's a wonderful PR man. I just want to do a shout out for him. For and again, my wife, she supported this, and she says, why don't you just do a book on this thing?
God bless her. That's, I mean, listen, a lot of us who've been in something for a long, long time, we know and are happy to give the shout out to our wives, because if our wives weren't there, we wouldn't be here.
Oh, bingo.
So
bingo.
I totally relate to that. Unfortunately, we are. Will you come back? Can we make it? We'll get you to come back, and more. We've got so much to talk about. It's unbelievable. But
how about this? I made a promise to my wife that the book would be at a publisher's hand by August 9th of this year.
Okay.
Which is her birthday, and it's also the 55th anniversary of the track opening.
Okay.
And I said, I've got to cut off the interviews. I've got to cut off the research. Anytime after August 9th.
After August 9th, okay. That's what I'll put a note in my calendar. That's what we're gonna connect and get that done.
And I should have more information on where the status is. Okay.
Good. That's outstanding. Everybody, Mike Allen, great job. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking to you on the phone. I enjoyed this time, and I want to have you back again. So thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you to all the fans that have supported me, and the folks that are on that list and then some. You cannot believe what a treasure your time with me was. And thank you.
I bet. All right, Mike. Thanks so much. Talk to you again. Take care.
Take care.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, a little promo for Speed Sport, and then we'll be back. Vintage Indy, Indianapolis, Indiana. Mike Lashman will be joining us and giving us some more background. He's got firsthand knowledge of Ontario, and a pretty cool car that some of you may remember, and some of you will be first-time information. Hang on, we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
As the summer days heat up, so does the action on Speed Sport 1. Thursday evening at 6 p.m., we'll have new episodes of Prime Cuts. This week will be the Dirt King Late Model Tour from Outagamie Speedway, followed by the 358 Modifieds from Lebanon Valley Speedway. Friday night, it's IMCA Racing with the All-Star Shootout from Kennedale Speedway Park. The Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli will be live this weekend from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Go to speedsport1.com for details and viewing options.
Okay, we are back. I'm texting Johnny Parsons here because we're going to reschedule hopefully very soon with him, and get him back in the in the circuit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, a great friend. I count him as I don't know if he counts me this way, but I count him as a dear friend. I respect and admire him so much, and when I'm in a pinch, I call him, and he's there, and that's Mike Lashmet, the president of Vintage Indy. Mike, are you out there? Hey, buddy.
I'm here.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you again.
I appreciate you letting me stick you in a difficult spot here. Pinch hitting. You had a big event this past weekend, also. I mean, you had a lot of cars, and you had a lot of fans enjoying Vintage Indy in Madison, Illinois. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we were with IndyCar down at WWT Raceway in Madison, Illinois, across the river from St. Louis. I like to say in the shadow of the St. Louis Arch. And it was just a wonderful weekend. The rain kind of went around us. We got all our sessions in. They had a great crowd of people down there. We had thousands through our paddock. We were adjacent to the IndyCar garages, and everything just went swimmingly. Couldn't ask for a better event. I think it was probably one of the best IndyCar races of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Today at Working Man's Friend and ended up at a table next to Larry Foyt and another guy from the team, and we were talking, and I said, man, I was rooting for Malukas and Ferrucci. You guys are going to get one here very soon, because Malukas had the car.
Oh, he led the most amount of laps. I mean, they're just a rebirth of a team for Foyt Racing. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Amazing.
Anyway, we're sitting here in Indianapolis this afternoon, and all the sirens are going off because we're under a tornado warning. The skies are really ominously dark right now, and supposed to get a severe thunderstorm around 5 o'clock. So hopefully I won't lose power here. But
okay. So I see. I just had Mike Allen on, who obviously you know very well.
Yes.
And I see a beautiful car behind you that has something to tie into with the Ontario Motor Speedway.
Right. The car behind me is the famous 1972 Mystery Eagle, which Jerry Grant came very close to winning the Indy 500 with. I'll move my camera here a little bit. And, he almost won the Indy 500, but the important thing about the car is by the time they got to Ontario for the California 500, he set fast time out there with this car and was the first car to go over. We just lost power here. It's storming pretty bad.
Do you need to head for shelter, Mike?
The first car to run a 200-mile-an-hour lap at IndyCar anywhere.
Do you need to head for shelter, Mike?
Yeah, we're in shelter. I'm in the center of my building. Dan is here with me. We're okay. The wind's pretty bad right now, and the rain's coming. So.
Wow. Well. Oh, there. Oh, wait. We had a glimmer of light there for a second.
What's that?
We saw a glimmer of light for a second. It seems like the lights flashed back on for a minute, but that didn't last very long.
Pretty bad storm.
It's just one of those things. JP was supposed to be with us today, and wait. There's more. JP was supposed to be with us today, and that didn't work out. And now we have nature sticking its nose into it and causing this problem.
Yeah, we lost one of our trees out front. The wind is really wicked.
Okay,
right
so you know what? Let's reschedule this, Mike, because I want you guys to stay safe, and we can't see you anyway because it's all dark. Thank you so much for being willing to jump in there, and you and Deanna stay safe, and I'll talk to you a little bit later on. Check in on you, all right?
Well, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. Well, that's the beauty of live production, folks. can't stop tornadoes, and here they lost a tree on their property. So anyway, gosh, there's a lot going on for us. It's all good. I hope to have more details for you in the coming weeks. Whatever platform you're watching, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, please like, comment, share. Would you please, if you haven't already, go to our website, thepitsareopen.com. Click on the top banner, click on and sign up for our newsletter. Please do that before the day is over. And then, again, we're trying to populate a new YouTube channel. So if you're watching us on our old YouTube channel, which are The Pits Are Open, we want you to go onto the new YouTube channel and subscribe, which is called The Pits Are Open Podcast. It's going to give us more ability to do more things with that channel than the old channel. And I won't go into detail of why, but it's just kind of a messed up deal. So if you're watching on Facebook, please go to YouTube and subscribe. Costs you nothing. We're not charging for it. And subscribe on the Pits Are Open Podcast channel. Pits Are Open Podcast, because they'll both come up. One we're trying to phase out. One we're trying to build. We're not quite ready for that yet. So we're gonna take a little bit of short program here today. Alex, thank you so much as always. Good job, and we'll be back. We'll be back with you next week, and hopefully everything's gonna be safe for Mike and Dan and Indianapolis, and Mike Allen. Thanks again for coming on. Good job, JP, and those of you watching, hoping you'll be seeing JP. We'll get JP back on real quick. We're gonna reschedule very soon for JP. All right, hey, again, thank you for watching. God bless you guys. Share this with your friends, your relatives. If you're on Facebook, share this. Share this on Facebook. or on YouTube as well. You can share. So please help us out, build the audience. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. God love you, and have a good rest of your week. We'll see you later.